Hi everybody, my name is Alan. On behalf of the crew, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Bridging Heaven and Earth. You know, I live in Santa Barbara, California. A lot of you know that because we've mentioned it on the show, and that's where we tape. And I live in a semi-rural area in Santa Barbara, and as I was driving here, there's a lot in front of me that there isn't a house on it yet, and there was just a deer, and it was around, I guess when I left for the studio, it was around 7:30 p.m. and this deer was there, and I could see it in the headlights, and it was just standing there eating, and it was just so magnificent, just standing there eating, just enjoying the food, being alive, and just being there. And I just thought there are so many examples on this extraordinary planet of ours of the unbelievable gifts of the Creator. However you would see the Creator to be. I mean, there's just, everywhere we look, there's the potential to see the glory of God, the glory of that love manifest. I mean, there's the trees and the oceans and the birds and the dolphins and the whales, and in a sense, for us, most of all, us, the human species, not to make it better and not to make it worse, but just the fact that we're alive, that there is this consciousness that can look in a mirror and see a face back, can see consciousness. What an incredible thing, what a glory this whole amazement is, this whole journey for us all on planet Earth here. And the opportunity to see that love and to see that manifestation of that glory. How much of it is missed in our lives? How much of it do we get caught up in a sense, the trivialities of it all, and miss the extraordinary beauty and glory of the creation, including all of us, in all the different flavors, in all the different varieties, in all the different colors. And yet we somehow get caught in the differences. And we fight, and we bomb, and we kill, and we hurt, and we use words that are hurtful. And that doesn't prevent the glory from going on. It doesn't prevent the deer from eating. I mean, maybe humans have killed off species now, and there are certain types of deers or certain types of animals who no longer are eating on this extraordinary planet. And as we talk about on every show, how can we know and have that connection to all that is, to the love of the Creator, to the manifestation of the Creator, that to know that we all are one, and to have that experience? And that is, in essence, what all the spiritual paths are about. There was this child born to a friend recently, or a grandchild born to a friend, and the mother is also, and the father is also a friend. And they live in Australia, and I wrote them this note, and I said, this child was born of love. A love that is beyond religion, beyond country, and beyond all the differences. And yet, in so many parts of the world, in so many parts of each of us, there's the conflict and of the illusion. And for all of us, it's time to make a stand for love. It's time to come out for that connection, for that oneness. So in whatever way we can come forth from the moment of this show, whenever and wherever you're watching it, or wherever you're listening to it, because it looks like all the shows, by the time most of you are watching it, will be available on the internet, the audio portions at least. That it's time that we took another step into the love, in whatever place we are, to commit to taking that next step. And tonight, once again, we have guests with us whose lives, as I've said so many times before, because it's the truth every time, are dedicated to the recognition of that experience, the perpetuation of that experience, and the sharing of that experience, and the experience of love, the experience of connection. We have Bonnie Bell with us and David Todd. They're creators of these extraordinary GaiaStar Mandalas, Mandalas. I was practicing. I was going to say it, and maybe they're both right, but I'm not sure. I think it's mandalas. And what they do with them are just ecstatic visions of the living earth, and we'll talk a lot about that. And they have cards and screensavers and just works of art and calendars of this incredible gift that they were given to share with the world. And what is it to do? It's to bring out that vibration. And what is the root of that vibration? It's just love and God and truth. And they're here to share their incredible art with us, and they're incredible beings. So that's really an opportunity for us all to share that tonight. And then we've also gotten this incredible video that someone who we've been trying to deal with from Europe. And they sent this extraordinary video of this musical, the GaiaStar Mantra, and some of you are familiar with it and some of you aren't, of Deva Pramal and Mitan. Extraordinary singers, and we've been trying to get them on the show, and we just couldn't work out the dates. As you know, we do it live here. So they sent this extraordinary video, and we decided we'd show it, which we normally don't do. We usually have live musical guests. So again, for the next however many minutes that this show is going to be on, it's an opportunity for us to know love, to settle into that vibration. Because that's what the intent of the show is, and that's why David and Bonnie drove 10 hours to get here, to share that experience. So as we normally do, let's do a short meditation, and then we'll begin with the video, and then David and Bonnie are going to be with us. So please join me in a short meditation. If you don't know one, just relax, settle into your chair, wherever your couch or whatever, and just come with us on this journey, hopefully into more and more love. So please. Thank you. So we're going to begin tonight's show with that video I talked about, the GaiaStar Mantra, performed by Deva Pramal and Mitan. Just settle in, and then David and Bonnie are going to be with us in their incredible art. So. Yeah, so what you just saw on camera after that video was one of the works of art of David and Bonnie. So how did you come to do that piece? And that's World Healing, that one's called?
This particular piece has an interesting story in that it's an example of the kind of work we've done for 2 or 3 years, where we take close-up images of rocks and plants and flowers from our property. And there's a very large, very impressive rock that's really the reason we moved to this particular property. It's a what's called a volcanic plug. It literally comes out of the ground, out of a volcano.
And if somebody moved it, it's spewing? Are you
No, it's just there.
like the hand in the dike or something?
It's
oh
just
my God.
there. And it's a very powerful place. And it's been a place where Indians have come for thousands of years. And
This is in upstate California?
Yeah, it's in Northern California. So we live in a house that faces this rock. We look at this rock all day long. And as soon as we came there, we connected with the spiritual power of that rock and the land around it. And we began, after we got there, to just kind of explore the property and find other rocks, small rocks, big rocks, trees, and we started taking photographs of them. Then we started taking pieces, of flower petals and putting them on a digital scanner and scanning them into our computer and creating mandalas out of them. And part of what we were trying to do was capture the spiritual energy of that property and share it with other people. And we were guided by the earth to work in this way and kind of mine all of the blessings that we felt in this property. So this image itself came about last summer. I got a very strong message that there was a new energy coming through this rock that had to do with world peace. And that we said, okay, we'll probably create an image, that will help communicate that blessing that's coming from this rock. And then on the morning of 9/11, September 11th, we woke up, as everyone did, to this, unfolding horror on our television screen. And somewhere midway through the day, I remembered the message I'd gotten about the rock and the message I'd gotten about this peace energy that was coming through the rock. And I said to Bonnie, we should create the image today. So we went to our computer, we sat down, we worked together in front of the computer. We had a picture of the rock, and we had the elements that we used in this picture, which in this case included some cosmic imagery. The Pleiades are in there, and Orion, and the center of the Milky Way galaxy. So we mixed those elements with these natural elements and created an image that we call World Healer. And after we created the image, we were given a meditation to do with the image so that people could use that image and connect with the energy, this peace blessing that was coming from this rock.
When you say you were given him, you mean your internal voice came?
Yeah, we sat down and said, how can people really connect with this image? Because the art we create is beautiful because it comes from the earth, but it's also a technology of transformation, a technology of healing. So we said, what's the technology that is in this image? And we were given a meditation that allows you to connect with the image, connect with the power that comes through that place, and to first release the fear that you may be feeling about the circumstance of the world. And certainly on that day,
There's a lot of fear around.
Oh man, it was intense, as everybody knows.
There was a lot of fear.
So we said, wow, how do people process that fear? How do you, what can we do to help people with that fear? And so the message was, use the image to release the fear, and then use the power that comes from the image to really say how you want things to be different, to really state your intention for peace in the world and for, the struggles between humanity to be resolved. And then we put the image on our website, which is GaiaStarWorld.com. And we put the meditation on the website so that anybody around the world can go to our website and connect with that image and do that meditation. And it's been very powerful. Lots of people have connected with us because of that. And it's, something that we feel we can do and have done to help the circumstance that we're all in.
Wow.
And another thing about this particular image is that in the middle, you see a turquoise stone that we use to represent the earth in a blessed state, you could say, the new earth. It looks like the earth, and yet it glows with a kind of novelty. And so, in general, this is how we have understood our art. Elements have come from the earth, and then they're infused with the intention of love. And we sit as two people in front of the computer to be revealed. The computer doesn't make the art, incidentally. Everything starts with real objects, and then we cut and paste and layer and use geometry to make enclosures. That's why we call them mandalas. We didn't actually set out to make mandalas, or mandalas, whichever
Which
way you
one?
like.
Mandala.
Well, we asked our Nepalese friend yesterday, it's mandala.
Mandala, well,
Yes.
I'm so sorry I spoke
Exactly.
not proper Hindi.
But we understood after we started doing them that as with traditional mandalas, they were creating a sacred space. Again, this is what David was referring to. In a way, mandalas are enclosures that define and hold a space of peace and beauty. And so as we began to do these pieces, always involving a symmetry, one of the breakthrough events for us was taking a single close-up photograph. We had two prints, and we put them side by side. And suddenly in the juncture between the two images, we saw new
life.
New shape, new life. And just as you were saying, this beautiful show has its own life. Well, we found the art had its own life. The pieces had their own life. We were combining because we were holding as an intention to create art that could heal and art that could transform. But it was a spontaneous revelation and has continued to be. In many ways, what happens, Ellen, is that we create a piece first, as you say, by inner intuition, and really by two people's inner intuition, which is kind of fun.
Right.
When we feel
collaboration has the potential to really, we were talking about that earlier,
Yes.
right? And to really, all of us coming together and, that energy, it becomes 1 and 1 is 11 and 1 and 1 and 1,
Exactly.
Instead of all the separate points.
Exactly.
And we are all connected, but for us to even manifest it and work together, we were talking about that earlier, how much fun that could be.
It
It's a
is
blast.
fun.
Yeah, it's a
And
blast.
also, we feel that we're collaborating with the earth. And in a way, we were so delighted to come to this show because our art is about bridging heaven and earth. We take elements that are from the earth and we bring our own spiritual intention to them. And to whatever degree we can be transparent to spirit, we also, in that sense, channel and hold the blessings of spirit so that the art
Not
itself...
outside of spirit ever.
No.
Right.
And so the marriage of heaven and earth takes place in the art.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And, we were talking earlier, too, that, unto itself, it has a vibration.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So, we talk about the show, and I say that with the cards or the calendars or the art itself. Whether people are even watching it. It's on in Philadelphia 5 times a week. It's on in Denver. And that energy is going out. Your energy in 2 or 3 months will be going out all over the world. And the energy of the cards and the energy of, the whole show and all the people behind the scenes and,
Who are
whose
wonderful,
intention
incidentally.
is to, dedicated to the oneness, dedicated to making that experience real in all its forms. And to me, whether, whatever we think the card is or whatever we think the game is, by its very nature, by its very existence, it is changing the world. And whether it's the 100th monkey that's going to fall or the Berlin Wall or,
Right.
and then they're going to say, what did it? Oh, the healing card. We won't know, and it doesn't matter. It's just that the Berlin Wall is down, and maybe one limitation that's one person has is down. So.
And I feel the same way. We've often said this. There is an intention behind the art, and we give them names that try to convey an essence that we feel from the piece. But if you never knew the name and you never knew what was in it, but it just shone on the wall, that would be sufficient.
I bet you if somebody couldn't see it,
We could feel it.
If we would feel
what a
it.
beautiful idea.
Because, we were talking earlier, and you said you didn't really know this person, but Andy Lakey has these little angel artists.
Right.
And blind people have gone in, and they can tell where the pictures are. And I'm sure that there'd be a similar feeling here, that even if they went into a room where there were 100 pictures and there was one wall with none pictures, they would walk to right where the pictures were.
We've been very grateful to have been invited to do several shows in healing spaces. This reminds me, we did a wonderful show with other mandala artists at Marin General Hospital in Marin County. From the beginning of when we created this art, people came to us and said, this feels like healing art. And that's why we have created some art that is specifically for healing purposes, but all of it has that quality.
It has the vibration of it, yeah. I think whatever you call it, it's
Right.
just by its nature, and what your intent is, and the bridging of the heaven and earth. So.
That might be nice to show the picture of Gaia Gloria that we brought.
Yeah, good. Talk about it. Don't bring
Well,
it up.
the way we actually began to make mandalas was by making collages. We began to make collages really initially as a way of understanding for ourselves if we as spirit were really, because we came from many years of spiritual practice and spiritual exploration, and yet we were called by the earth, as David said, to a specific spot, but also into an embrace with matter in a way that we hadn't explored before. So we began to try to describe to ourselves how would we shift if we really understood this, that we are animals, we are spirit, we are made of molecules and atoms.
Right.
Exactly. So we started to make collages. The wonderful thing about collage is you can put the wings of an angel with the body of a cat. My cat is in the
Yours, you can do whatever you want.
Or you can
You
put
can mix and match.
Right.
Right, and so this particular image, Gaia Gloria, is one of the first ones. We did a prototype called New Earth Angel. Gaia Gloria's body is the planet, and yet she's winged. She has the wings of Isis and the head of another Hindu goddess. So as a character, she embodies this marriage of matter and spirit, or heaven and earth. And we had 2 or 3 of these collages that were really a doorway into a whole system. I did bring these cards.
These are what you call your codex cards?
These are called the
And they're almost
GaiaStar Codex. They are
tarot cards of some sort.
Well,
people are more familiar with that.
yeah.
So why don't you describe what they are and the difference? Maybe I'll hold a couple of
okay.
them up.
You hold. Let's see. Here's a fun one to hold. Well, they're small.
We have a very good camera person
All right.
on that camera. So let's see.
What's fun about these is that, well, I started to say about the figures in Gaia Gloria. We realized that, like the major arcana of the tarot, a certain number of figures of beings wanted to come into being. So we had 21, and they were almost like the front guard of a whole wave of information. And we understood that what we were doing was actually receiving at a completely nonverbal, intuitive level from the things we saw on the earth, from the intuition we had. We were receiving information and encoding it. So that's why we call it codex. It is a body of information, intuitive information, that's depicted in pictures. And in a way, the codex, we came up with the word GaiaStar because it's another way of saying earth and heaven. Gaia being the embodied
And
earth.
we copyrighted Bridget.
So we can't take
sued
that.
you,
That's
so-
right. So we had to move on.
We did.
And
It's funny, we had this guy Leonard Jacobson on the show who wrote a book, Bridging Heaven and Earth,
Uh-oh.
and he's a former lawyer in Australia.
Oh, the two of
So
you.
it's like we didn't know who to serve papers on first. It's like a weirdness.
well, we decided we would come up with a novel expression.
Right.
So
we would stand it.
So the codex is 64 cards. We also came up with codex because it's like codon. And we really understood on an intuitive level, that the 64 codons of the human DNA system, in other words, the language that can be composed from the information in DNA, is very much like what we were doing here. There's an intuitive analogy between receiving new information that you can build a whole body from, and receiving new information that you can use to help rebuild your own reality and to help then draw in really wonderful, positive intention that every time it's used, it blesses the earth. So that's the codex. And again...
And you have a lot of these similar images on calendars and screensavers,
Right.
so that somebody could be
Right.
You can sit at your computer
and watch.
and have the
How many
earth.
images are on this screensaver?
27.
27, and they morph one into
They
the
do.
other.
They, each one kind of, there's a different way each one changes into the next one. So it's just like
Did
a
you do that?
kaleidoscopic show.
Just videography-wise?
No, our publisher did it.
Did
They
it?
worked with a programmer, and they've produced several different products now.
Pomegranate
Taking our
Pomegranate, yeah, they're good.
They
They're
take our
wonderful.
basic images and they do note cards or screensaver calendars, and we want to see the art get out in as many different ways as possible. We have a friend recently that's doing something really fun. She's printing images on drum heads, so you can actually,
Beat the hell out of
beat
it.
the hell out of the picture and
And
translate. The image then becomes
Right.
sound, and you get
Right.
sound and the image together.
Right.
So there are a lot of different ways we found that the art can show up.
It's almost unlimited.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it
a lot
is
of
almost
things.
unlimited.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is part of the revelation to us. The blessings, the richness of the earth, the nurturing information and support that can come to people in this form is basically unlimited.
Right.
And it is like food. That's another way that we understand it, especially as we've used the art. It supports you. It gives you new information and helps the emergence of our collective new
Makes
world.
us feel safe, and we need to feel safe to proceed.
Right.
At least some point in the growth process. We don't. If we're always like protecting, and I think that has a real, that art has a quality because it doesn't have language with it.
Right.
And there's almost nothing to disagree with. We get in trouble when we have languages and definitions and things. So, when you started this, and one thing led to another. One
Right.
type, and then working with crystals. So there's nothing on the planet that can't be
There's
scanned.
nothing that couldn't be used.
Right.
It's interesting, when we did the codex, it kind of came out, though, in an organized fashion. Really just piece by piece. It's just like, okay, we actually just said, we're not going to use an infinite variety of things. We're going to use 5 different kinds of things. They were like alchemical elements. So we used rocks to represent a particular kind of energy, and so there's several images that are based on rocks. Another series are based on plants, leaves and bark. Another series on wings and feathers. Another series on flowers. And the final section is based on crystals. So each one of those has a unique energy, and then within each of those energies there are several different pictures, kind of variations on that. So you get a very fluid and complex palette that you can, whenever you're working with the cards, you get a rock image and a flower image and an
And when
icon
you say working
image.
with the cards, you mean that almost as like a tarot deck, and use it
Yeah.
to ask it a question, to get a daily affirmation in a
We
sense,
have-
a daily vibration.
It comes with a booklet that explains, different ways that you can use it. One is for guidance. There are sort of 2 basic ways. One is for guidance, accessing new information, and also empowerment. Certain cards you have the intention for something to change in your life, where you can draw a certain spread of cards and lay them out, where those cards are really there to reinforce and empower that intention. And so you're drawing these new energies into your life and saying, I want to combine with those energies because I want something to change in my life. Just like with the world healer, we want something to change in the world. We want the world to change. So there's always that mixture of your intention and the particular blessing, energy, or power that's in a particular piece of art.
And what has people's response been? Just a lot of people get blown away and get
It's a
real.
blast. It's really a blast to show the art to people because you just get drawn into it very quickly. And some of the images are very kaleidoscopic, and you start seeing faces and figures in there because of the symmetries. And other people have more the energy experience that you were talking about. And you can close your eyes and still feel that, the power of the image.
I would like to tell a story that that was very moving to us. We were invited to be in an art show in Sausalito, California, and for us, you know, it's been a very new and tender thing. So we brought. It's almost like bringing your children to the show. You know, we felt we have them in the back of the car.
Right.
And so we were very happy to be there.
When you were feeding the prince, I
Oh,
did
God,
get a
not
little
before.
nervous.
That's right.
I must say, oh my God, this could be dangerous.
We love our pictures.
I know. No. You
So-
seem to have gotten over it. You dealt with it pretty good.
Yeah, so we did manage to take them out on this occasion. We took them to the show, and we had done a series, which we'll show you one in a minute, of healing mandalas. And this particular series were all round images, 12-sided images. And we had about 5 or 6 of that. We also had these GaiaStar Codex images, but we had one wall devoted to healing images. It was a long show, and we were just about ready to close up one day when this woman came in. She was walking with a cane. She was walking very slowly. She looked at the picture on the wall, and this is the healing mandala that you have, and she burst into tears.
Wow.
She was sobbing and sobbing, and when she could talk again, she said that she was dealing with serious cancer, and she had been meditating the day before and got the message that there was something that could really help her that she needed to find at the art festival.
Wow.
And even though it was difficult for her to move around, she had walked through the entire art festival.
And nothing.
Nothing had spoken to her.
Right.
And she just was about to give up, and she came in the booth, and this was the piece
Wow.
that she was looking for. So
And
that
she threw the cane away.
she was we were glad that she had it, and she was very glad to have it. So that's been
amazing,
a response. So, and people came to us and said, this is healing art. And again, because we didn't start out with a self-conscious intention, in a way, we've been moved along the creative flow, interpreting afterwards, in a way, what we have made.
We often create a picture and then understand what it is later, or someone else who's very sensitive to energies will say, gee, you know, I really feel this particular energy from this image. And we go, right, that's what it's about. And sometimes we think it's about one thing, and then later we realize, oh, it's actually about something else. So
Well, I
it's
mean, a
all
lot
just
of explanations we have are like 3 dots before and 3 dots
Exactly.
after. So it's like infinite to infinite. So, you know, we pick a piece out and put a name on it.
right.
But ultimately, it's about
It's
the
always
root,
evolving.
the love.
Right.
So-
And you can always reinterpret it.
That's absolutely true, and this is one thing we wanted to say about the art. This art is to be experienced by everyone and enjoyed. There is no right way or wrong way to use these mandalas, to enjoy them or be supported by them.
Or pronounce it.
Or to
Or
pronounce
pronounce them,
them.
exactly.
However, I will give a tip. This is a fun thing to do. What really helps with receiving the blessing is to add different sensory events. For instance, if you decide to sit and contemplate a mandala, you may want to have music playing, or you may want to have a scent
candle
or a candle, or wear a special shawl, because again, the purpose of a mandala is to depict and hold a sacred space. So the more senses that you can draw in, the richer your experience. You may receive information. You may hear words, or you may just get a feeling, or you may just relax and find yourself
For the
coming
first
into
time
balance.
in about
Exactly.
A long time.
Oh
Exactly.
my God.
This is why-
Is this what it feels like?
Well, it's
Oh
great to have
God.
the screensaver just came out this week, and it's so great. You know, you're working on your computer, you want to take a break, and suddenly this mandala's in front of you, and you just go, oh, okay. It completely changes your mood. Someone wrote us the other day, it was like a kaleidoscopic vacation. You know, it's like, oh, okay. You're just in
Yeah.
a different space.
Yeah, it's interesting because somebody was talking about they need a vacation.
Right.
Most of the time we need a vacation for ourselves.
Right.
That's the only thing. So if we can just switch into, you know, from being I'm this person
Exactly.
into,
Suddenly you're in contact with something very deep and mysterious.
And with yourself.
right,
which
and all
is
it does is
also-
help you remember that that's what you are.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's
Right.
great.
It is.
So, and you guys are having a lot of fun doing it, which is,
It's
It
a
is-
blast.
It's wonderful, and as I say, we've found this wonderful publishing partner in Pomegranate. So
yeah, I mean, it's really not easy to do that, and a lot of people have extraordinary gifts and talents that they don't have in the luck and the
Grace,
the
really.
grace
It's been a
and
grace.
the synchronicity So
We told you
you're
earlier-
supposed to be out. I mean, you're supposed
Yeah.
to be in every story.
Thank
You're
you.
supposed to be.
We
Because
to-
or else you wouldn't be. Because I'm telling you, there are a lot of people
Yeah.
who are very gifted
I understand.
and put a lot of love into what they do, and they got like 850 books under their bed.
Right.
If they gave 120 to their
Right.
mother. So,
Right.
and they're incredible books or CDs. Or, so,
We feel very lucky.
yeah, that's great. And so, I mean, what do you see the next step is just almost creating more and getting more and more to let people know that it exists?
Well, there are 2 or 3 things that are developing. One is just the first thing you said, the last thing you said, which is letting people know that they exist. We've really been kind of holed up on the mountaintop creating this art for several years now and going through a very intense relationship with the property itself and with our own healing processes. So we've been turning it out and turning it over to our publisher, but we haven't really come out and spoken like this and promoted the art at all. So we are doing that, starting now with you.
You can't go on any other
Oh, this
show.
is it, huh?
This is it.
You have to sign that agreement?
Yeah, there is a nod.
Non-disclosure.
And then there are people coming to us, like I said, this person wants to use them on drums. And another guy is developing a product for children, for infants.
Wow.
It's like a little projector that goes over
Wow,
the,
that's very cool.
the screen of a, so the baby can look at
At this
this.
ceiling.
Exactly.
Yeah, wow.
So there are lots of ways that other people are starting to come to us and say, we love your art and we want to use it in this way or that way. And if we feel like, it's a good thing,
it's
then
harmonious,
we'll do
right.
that.
One of the main things that we're also looking to do right now is several spas and retreats, healing retreats or meditation retreats, hot springs, have approached us because when you're going on retreat, this is the ideal kind of
About
art
what?
To
have the
to
art
have the
on
art
the wall,
on their exactly on their walls.
Uh-huh.
And another thing that we have done a number of pieces, and we imagine we will be doing more and look forward to doing more, are custom pieces. For instance, for a unique, if your spa is in Idaho and the foliage is, purple sage is a very important element there, then we may create a mandala for your spa in Idaho that has purple sage in it.
Mm-hmm.
So we also are looking to support people in bringing forward their own places and transmitting the beauty of that spot. Because what we understand this art to be in a way is beauty medicine. Beauty is strong medicine. That's why we made a mandala on 9/11. What could we find to heal our own hearts that we could also share? It was beauty that could bring us ease. And it also...
You mean it didn't work watching all the generals on television?
No,
No, that was really
definitely didn't
brutal,
work.
I'll tell you.
Yes.
I mean, I rarely watch that stuff.
Right.
And I watched it for about 2 or 3 hours straight, 2 hours straight. I remember thinking, from 8 to 10, and then we have like 4 stations here in a row that are like CNN, CNBC. So that day they were all on.
Yeah.
I think it wasn't 911, but it was like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And I rarely get afraid, rarely get fearful, rarely get anxious. After 2 hours, I was thinking of locking my door.
Can't help it.
It was so weird to me. I
Right.
said, if people are watching this,
Right.
there is nothing they can do to not
Right.
be afraid.
Exactly.
Well, it's interesting because what I was, again, contemplating the world healer afterwards, I thought, what was the impulse then that led us to want to do that? It's that it's constructive. And mandalas are literally architecture. That's why they have shapes that are symmetrical. They are enclosures. In other words, they're a way that the human being can give expression to this desire to construct a beautiful world. A
to
world
feel
of
beautiful.
beauty.
Right, to have the inner beauty manifest.
Exactly, and to
Yeah.
enter, and then to be able to re-enter that space of beauty and draw support from it and draw sustenance from it. So instead of being just destructive, this was something constructive, and it gives new imagery. Because, as you point out, we're bombarded by imagery that's very frightening. And so, in a way, it's having another language, another visual language that you can import into your own software of your
I think
mind.
we have a couple other pictures that maybe we could talk about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the last one is also, it's one of the new projects we're just developing. And it's very interesting because
What's the name of it?
it's called an elixifier.
Elixifier. I feel
And-
better already.
One of the things we say in the book we wrote is that all of the art has there's a flow of energy that comes from all of the art that we call earth ecstasy. And you can literally sit in front of the image and just drink that in. And we found that we could develop art that you could literally put a glass of water on. And the art, the same vibration that was in the art, was get transmitted into the water itself. So it's something we've experimented with for several years, and made images and had people try the elixirs, and they go, "Wow, this is really feel an effect from that."
And
So
we have people who are somewhat scientific. I mean,
Yeah.
could you test the water and see? Because there are things where you hit it with a tuning fork, and,
Right.
and the sand does things. If you tested the water, could you see that the molecules have changed? Or?
We're actually looking for someone to do that with us. I just
Oh.
made some phone calls last week
interesting.
about that.
Because a lot of people prove
Yeah.
it, but I mean,
Well,
I know it
The
happens.
proof is in the experience.
Right.
And so, just like everything new, yes, there's proof, yes, there isn't. But it's a form of vibrational medicine.
Right.
And so we've developed a series of images that are specifically for healing purposes. And there's a whole system we've developed of taking 45 images and combining them in 5 groups of 5 and doing custom images. So if a person has a particular condition, they can ask for a mandala that's specifically for them, and they put a glass of water on that mandala each day and drink it and absorb that healing vibration directly into the body, directly into the cells.
And you think that would be different than putting your hand on it, because just
Yeah.
the liquid.
Our bodies are 90% water, and water is an incredibly receptive medium. There's a wonderful book. Actually, we're going to send some of our images to this guy. There's a researcher in Japan who wrote a book called The Message of Water.
From water.
The Message from Water, exactly. And he took water in a laboratory and froze it. And when you freeze it, you can see the crystalline structure. And he took water from different places, like spiritual places and industrial water, and these places that were spiritual had these beautiful crystals. And then he put words on
I've
there.
seen that book.
Yeah, he put a
Yeah.
word like hate on there, and the crystal is terrible, and he put a word like love on there. And the crystal, the water literally, molecularly changes, just what you're saying. The vibration of that word changed the water, and he was able to capture that. So the same thing is true with the art. Our bodies are 90% water. That's part of the reason that we're affected. We feel the energy of the art because it is touching us in that very fluid part of our being that's always moving, and it's very receptive, and that adapts to shape, So it's a mysterious process, but it really does work. So we're developing a whole line, a whole system that people can use for charging water and receiving the healing information that's in the art through a different medium.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun.
And so what you're finding is that you're dealing with different collaborators in a lot of these different things.
Right.
So it's really
Partnerships.
really beautiful that way to get those kind of one-on-ones going.
And we're really open to that. Again,
Right.
We stand at the beginning of this. We've been doing it, as David said, I like to think of it as being in a creative fugue for a number of years.
Yeah, I mean, you only do one at a time. I mean, you can
Right.
only do one at a time. I mean, you do one show, you never know if you'll do another one. You do,
Right.
one mandala, and then
Yeah.
But
I don't
we
know if you're going to
see
pronounce it right.
that's right. But we see that the art wants to link up with
Right.
other people, and new projects will be created out of that.
The
So we're
kids
very
want to get out of the
excited.
house, we've discovered.
Uh-huh.
They want to go out there
And play.
and play and
Right.
interact with people. And the response we get from people is really wonderful. It's completely gratifying.
It's really
It's
wonderful.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's great.
Yeah, I mean, when we first saw this stuff, I guess Laurel showed us the
Mm-hmm.
stuff. We said, okay, well, let's see if we can find a date. And then, it just worked out.
Yeah, it worked out
that's
great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, we picked this date, Alan, when we had a number of choices to pick from,
Right.
because it was closest to Earth Day. Because this art is sourced in natural elements, we felt it would be fun and appropriate to
Right.
come near the time when we
Yeah,
celebrate
people are
Earth.
seeing this show
Right.
all
Oh,
over.
that's
all
different times, of course.
But we're doing it live, very
Right.
close
Yes.
to Earth Day 2009. So.
Well,
Is that the
now
year it
that's a
is?
very interesting thing too that you say, Alan, because the other thing that we say in the Codex, but it's actually true, is in a way, I have been a great reader of science fiction in my life. I was fascinated by ancient
Your
history as
homeland.
well. That's right. This, in a way, we say, it's information from the future. At least it is a picture. It's visionary in that sense. It holds the vibration of an earth that is healed and uplifted.
You know, and also we talked about it's also a picture from the 60s. So
It's also exactly right.
So
It's a picture from the 60s. Our landlord said this the first time he saw it. He said, "Oh, yes," he said.
I remember.
this. I could get into
Woodstock.
this. That's right.
This
I can get lost in this, he said. And we also would love to do this for children. As David was saying, especially in some of the more complex mandalas where there's a lot of joinders, there are fabulous creatures. You know, you look at this and you see a cat and a wolf and an AT and a goddess. And so they're also playgrounds for the imagination. And we were talking about having a game called Go Figure, where you could see how many different figures you could pick out from any given image.
Yeah, probably you mentioned that, and Milton Bradley will call you.
Oh, I hope they will.
Well, we hope so.
Right. They have a place, the Milton Bradley people have a place in Santa Barbara.
Oh,
so-
really?
No, I don't know that. But if they're supposed to, they will. A lot of people do. I'll
That's
tell you
right, a
that.
lot of people do.
Yeah.
It's
So
a special place, Santa
It
Barbara.
really is a special place here. So, for you, it's just like to follow that joy
It is.
and to see
And to
where
share
it
it,
takes you.
to
and
spread
share
it. I mean, we create a website so that anyone around the world could access the art and see the art, and they can, if there's something there they want to get, they can order it and write to us through the website. So it's a way for us, even though we live in a very remote place, to be connected with people throughout the world, and that's really a great thing.
And you know, part of it for us, Alan, was the revelation. It's digital, natural art. In that sense,
It's the
it
bridge,
marries
yeah, right.
exactly.
Marries
It marries
technology and
precisely.
love. But you know, we always just define things. You know, we define everything's made of love. It's just, do we recognize that? It can't be otherwise.
Right.
So, and I guess we're coming to the end of the show again. So, you know, if you want any information about Bonnie or David, their work, you know, where you can get this stuff, you know, please call me, Alan, 805-687-2053. Also, their site will be linked from the Bridging Heaven and Earth site, which you've seen, heaventoearth.com. So if you want to go, just go to, you know, on the guest page, the seasons page, the events page. So let's commit to more love. Let's commit to going out there and sharing it. So good night. God bless you. We love you.